The Radio Wammo Breakfast.
Talking politics with Russel Norman.
Co-leader of the Greens, Russel Norman, joins us this morning. Morning, Russell.
Morning, Wammo. Can you live without me?
That's a good question. No, I think we need diversity in our political spectrum and in our lives, so no, we can't live without you.
That's why we need MMP, mate.
Well, was MMP discussed on the weekend at the Green Party conference?
It was discussed a little bit. I mean, obviously we've got this referendum coming up with the next election, so we're obviously pro-MMP, so it was discussed a bit.
Now, because of course, without MMP, it would be very hard, I would imagine, for the Greens to have any kind of say in any kind of future government. Yeah,
I think that's a fair call. The system that John Key's been promoting, called supplementary member, if that were introduced, then it would mean at the last election, instead of getting 9 MPs, which was the proportion of the total vote that the Greens, should have got, which is what we did get under MMP, instead of getting 9 MPs, you would have got probably 2 MPs.
Okay.
So that's a system that National's kind of supporting.
Of course, MMP, it's not all good, is it? I mean, there are some broken elements to it. Would you prefer to see an altered version of MMP?
Well, the beauty of the way the referendum's been set up is that if people vote to keep MMP, then there's a process that gets set up after that to review any tweaking to MMP. And so there's, some particular things that people are concerned about. One is the Rodney Hyde situation, whereby a party wins one seat and then gets all of their vote counted. So if they get, say, 4% of the vote and one MP wins an electorate seat, then they get 4% of the seats in Parliament.
Yeah.
And so there's that issue which people want to discuss, and there's probably some other issues as well around MMP.
And in the conference, you stated that you hope to get 10% of the vote at the next election. Now, with 10% of the vote, you still then have to decide after that whether or not you would once again have some kind of relationship with National if National were to get the majority of the rest of the vote. And one would imagine that National in their second term would be a little bit more extreme than what they've been in this last term.
That's right. I mean, I'm hoping that we can get at least 10% of the vote, which would give us at least 12 MPs, and then we'd have to decide how to relate to National. I mean, what we said prior to the last election was that we'd work with them where we had common ground, but we wouldn't support them to be the government. So we don't vote for them on competence and supply, but we have worked with them on the home insulation scheme, which we started under Labor and have continued under National, and also the cycleway. So in the lead up to the next election, we'll have to make another decision along similar lines about whether that's the kind of approach we want to take, and that's up to the party.
Yeah, well, because looking, in the words of Gordon Campbell at scoop.co.nz, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You'll be damned if you betray some of your principles and work with National, and then, of course, you'd be damned if you didn't, because you'd be accused of being irrelevant. So there's the media commentary can be a little bit like that. I think Gordon hit it on the head, actually, with that piece. Our approach is what's a principled approach to dealing with it. We're not kind of tribal like Labor and National, where, they always take you either in the Labor tribe or the National tribe, and they're always at war, or at least on the surface. Whereas we say, look, you've just got to support good programs and good policy, and oppose the bad ones. So home insulation was, a no-brainer. It was our policy. We got Labor to introduce it, and then National picked it up, so of course we were going to support it. So, I think that's a principled approach to dealing with it. And just an aside, the suit and tie here to stay.
The funny thing is, if you think about it, at a Green Party conference on the Queen's Birthday weekend, everyone there, of course, isn't going to wear a suit and tie, even if they wear a suit and tie to work, because they're not at work, they're at a Green Party conference. I was there to work as co-leader of the Green Party, so I was in my work outfit, which is suit and ties.
Yeah.
So it wasn't surprising I was in a suit and tie and everyone else wasn't. What would you expect?
No, so I've got no problem with that. But it is an image thing, right? For you want to present an image that isn't distracted by, by clothing, obviously, because people in Wellington respect suits and ties.
Yeah, For me, it's about, I think the Greens have got quite a challenging message to communicate because, dealing with the finite world and trying to live within finite resources is the great challenge for the human race in the 21st century. Somehow we've got to figure it out. I'm kind of the messenger of that, which is quite a challenging message. So I don't want how I look to be a distraction or that people can dismiss me by saying, oh, he looks crazy. I just want to look pretty standard so that I can actually communicate quite a challenging and difficult message.
Which is an acknowledgement that may have been an issue in the past with previous MPs.
It's sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the singing, though? What was going on at the conference with the singing?
So there was we have a thing called a co-convener, which is like a party president, and so we had a retiring co-convener, Moya Armstrong, who'd been there for a number of years. And so she was stepping down, so all the women got up and sang a waiata as she stepped down at the end of her few years in the role. And TV3, who were inside the session because we'd said you can be inside the session but you can't film it.
Yeah.
Decided that they didn't like that, so they filmed through the door.
Because they broke
the agreement.
They filmed through the door and make it look like some kind of religious ceremony.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is a great shame. Anyway, thanks very much, Russell. Cheers for that.
All right. See you there, mate.
See ya. Co-leader of the Greens, Russel Norman, there with us.